I'm a Christian who spent a lot of time in my childhood and my adult life in Dearborn. That church is very, very close to the mosque that everybody is talking about in the media. The church and the mosque that are very close to each other have a good relationship.
Here in Michigan, they abide by our laws. They follow the Constitution. So Dearborn is actually one of the safest cities within the Metro Detroit area. It continues to get safer.
And I am struck, absolutely just struck, as I'm watching these Muslims respond. They look more like Jesus than the Christians do.
The man who threatened to burn a Quran in Dearborn last week is now filing a federal hate crime lawsuit against the city. In a statement, Jake Lang says he's suing Dearborn police, city council, and Mayor Abdullah Hammoud for $200 million. Lang is running for a U.S. Senate seat in Florida. He claims that he and his group were hit with pepper spray, sucker punched. He also says they had food thrown at them. He claims police didn't do anything to prevent them from getting hurt. Lang is part of an anti-Islamic protest in Dearborn, threatening to burn a Quran, and he taunted counter-protesters with bacon.
I got a couple thoughts on this Dearborn, Michigan thing. And of course, I'm from Michigan. I live probably about 25 minutes from Dearborn. And I'm finding that a lot of these people that are freaking out about Dearborn, Michigan don't even live in Michigan or are so far away from Dearborn within Michigan. They've probably never even been there that it's insane. So I just want to highlight some attention to that because they've been here for over 40 years. We've never really had a problem. Let's just highlight the fact that Dearborn has one of the lowest crime rates. It's incredibly clean and it's always been incredibly welcoming. In addition to that, Dearborn boasts 60 Christian churches, about 13 mosques. So these churches have been there forever, undisturbed. There's never been a problem with Christians and Muslims living side by side within Dearborn. So I'm just going to highlight that. But in addition to that, I was thinking about the cultural communities that are within the United States. And the fact that we have 15 to 20 Chinese-themed historic districts all over the United States. These are like the bigger, older ones, San Francisco, New York, what have you, those kinds of districts. And I mean, you go there and it feels like you've walked into Shanghai or something. These people practice a different religion other than Christianity, but nobody has a problem with that. In fact, people go specifically to visit these destinations when they travel to places like New York and San Francisco. So just putting that out there. But in addition to these 15 to 20 bigger historical districts, there's about 50 Chinese districts within the whole of the United States. So I'm certainly not talking crap about any Chinese brothers or sisters. I have family that are Chinese. I have very close friends that are Chinese and I love them. So that's not what I'm doing here. I'm just highlighting a comparison that one's okay and actually celebrated and the other one is like deemed evil, which I think is weird. And I think it really just highlights how dumb this whole thing is. So the last thing I'm going to say is that if you are not from Michigan, you're talking crap about Dearborn, keep Dearborn out your mouth. If we had a problem with it, we'd handle it. Here in Michigan, they abide by our laws. They follow the Constitution. So Dearborn is actually one of the safest cities within the Metro Detroit area. It continues to get safer, which is why we support them. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Just keep Dearborn out your mouth.
Oh my gosh, I'm watching these like crazy Christian people protest in Dearborn, in Tampa, in parts of Texas. I think it's all over now. These crazy Christians are out protesting, interrupting like Muslims praying, things like this, just saying horrible things. And I am struck, absolutely just struck as I'm watching these Muslims respond. They look more like Jesus than the Christians do. I'm just saying, man, these Christians look awful. They are doing and saying hideous things. And the Muslims are just praying. There's this one from Texas. Oh my gosh. Like literally the Muslims just ignore the guy. And the guy's like walking around in front of them and saying horrible shit. They're just praying. Exactly like Jesus would do, I'm thinking. It's really mind-blowing, man. Like once Americans realize like what Muslims are really like, there's going to be a lot of Muslims in America, let me tell you, and a lot fewer Christians. That might be a good thing.
Dearborn has been in the media a lot recently, and I feel like I'm a little bit qualified to speak on this because I'm a Christian who spent a lot of time in my childhood and my adult life in Dearborn. My grandparents lived in Dearborn. My great-grandparents, who had the privilege of knowing, lived in Dearborn. My church is in Dearborn, where my parents got married, where I was baptized. I still go to church every single Sunday. And that church is very, very close to the mosque that everybody is talking about in the media. And I just want to point out that the only people who have a problem with this are outside of Dearborn and like people who don't come here, because my great grandpa lived in an apartment building right next to the mosque, number one. Number two, we have a bazaar at my church where there's food, there's drinks, there's little pop-up shops, there's like so many things that you can check out. You can get things for really cheap, and there's just a lot of cool things, and people of different cultures and religions come in there to shop around, and it's a very welcoming community when we do things like this. And the church and the mosque that are very close to each other have a good relationship. So the only people that seem to have a big problem with this and are making it a contentious point in our society and our world right now are the people who aren't involved in this. And I know this because I grew up going to church every Sunday. I still go to church every Sunday. I have friends who live in Dearborn. I have friends of people of different cultures and friends of people of different religions, and it's never been a problem. It's never been a problem. We are very respectful of each other, and I just think like Dearborn is getting so much heat right now, and it's not warranted because you don't know the relationships that we have built here, and I feel like it's very unfair. So I feel like that's my rant of the day, but just be mindful, and I would encourage you, everybody, to really take a look at that and talk to people on the other side, because like it's just a false narrative. And that's not to say people don't have bad experiences and things like that, but my experience has been pretty positive in terms of being respectful of each other's cultures.
Muslims are not your enemy. Islam has never been your enemy.